This is my first try to making my own cocoa powder and cocoa butter. So I get this cacao pod. Taking out the seeds was a very fleshy and juicy, filled with the pulp, white pulp seeds. And they were very soft and very beautiful, and the fruit came out pretty perfectly well. I actually ordered it online. Then I put it for fermentation. The first day of fermentation, they started getting a little bit brown, a little bit still more white. The second day of the fermentation, followed by the third day of the fermentation, I keep it in the glass jar covered with this soft muslin cloth. The fourth day of fermentation, the sixth day of the fermentation, you see it's getting very dark, and finally the seventh day of fermentation, it's like pretty dark in color the way if I compare it in the beginning. And then I let it dry for 2 days on the plate in the sun drying. Of course I can use a dehydrator, but then I use the sun drying, and then I roasted them on the pan. Some people roast them in the oven, but I don't have an oven here, so because I'm traveling. So I have a pan and I roasted them, and I've roasted it pretty dark in color. Now people don't roast that much dark. I want it to be a very dark chocolate, kind of like a little bit taste of the charcoaly kind of like taste. So I roasted it pretty dark, and then the time comes to separate the cacao from the cacao shells, and this is a very interesting part. Of course it takes a little bit while to do that, but I really enjoy this process and see the beautiful process of chocolate making. And starting from the scratch was really beautiful and really interesting. Of course I did make some mistakes in like roasting it too much and it gets pretty dark, but then I like the flavor of dark ones. And I separated the cacao shells with the cacao nibs and then breaking down, and then the another part comes on with separating the cacao butter from the cacao beans and from the cacao powder. That was a tricky part, but anyway, we put it in the blender and let them mix it into the powder form. And then I added a little bit more water to it because I wanted the texture to be, I want it to be the paste so that I can separate the cacao butter from it. So I put the water, and here we go, put it in the pan, then heat it with the more water until the water starts to boil and the oil will going to separate. You will going to see the shiny surface, which is kind of like the oil. And then I let the paste and put it in the sieve like this, and then the time to press it down a little bit and take the butter out as much as I can. And now this is one with the cacao mixed with the butter.